Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Sippin' Tea with Nat and Z. I'm Nat.
And I am Z. What up, what up, what up?
Hola. How
We
is
are back.
everybody
Yes, yes.
today?
It has been a very eventful new year, I'll say that. We are
And it's
almost done with
only
January.
just the end of January. January. That was a long year. January.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It January has been a very has been kicking, I think, both of our butts
Then
respectively for
some.
different reasons.
Yes. Yes.
But hey, it is what it is. I went to Denver recently. Still have
You
not
tell.
unpacked. I still have not unpacked from Denver.
That's
I still
okay.
have,
You're allowed. It's
still
not
have
like
my
you're
bag.
wearing those clothes anywhere right now, so you're good.
No, it was fun. I highly recommend and suggest everybody take a trip to Denver. One of our sorors lives out there, and I didn't get a chance to reach out to her because we weren't there for a very long time, and we had
Hmm.
we I'm very type A, as you know, so planning trips for me is like um, a big event. But I did not plan this trip in the sense that me and my husband went, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be type A. I'm just going to let
And enjoy.
the yeah, I'm just going to go where the wind blows us. It was a
How is
birthday.
that for you?
It was a little challenging at first, okay,
Hmm.
because I'm like, okay, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go here. I'll say this: I had a list of things like, oh, we can
Hmm.
go here. Here's some places we could go, but it wasn't like, okay, Thursday we'll do this, Friday we'll do this, Saturday do.
Hmm.
It was none of that. And I think that actually worked out well for us, especially for the type of environment Denver is.
Right.
Um,
Let's go with the flow.
right. So I think now, in my top cities that I visited in the United States, Denver is now in the top five. Definitely. Denver is in my top 5.
Nice.
And it's coming close because, it's New Orleans, it's Denver,
Yes.
and it's San Francisco for me.
Yes.
So, well, it's New Orleans and San Francisco. Denver is there. And it's neck and neck with New
Wow.
Orleans, I think. Yeah, I
That's
think.
pretty impressive. I'm
Yeah.
excited to go eventually someday,
It's
whenever
fun.
that is.
Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah, we always talk about traveling, like
Hmm.
respectively. Everybody talks about traveling, and for a lot of people, traveling is I'm going to the Seychelles, I'm going to the Canary Islands, I'm going to the Bahamas, I'm going to Thailand, and I love and will do those things. But for
Hmm.
me, I also want to see places here in the United States that we don't
Agreed.
really don't like I want to go to Seattle. I still haven't been to Seattle.
Hmm.
I want to go to San Diego. Still haven't been to San Diego. I want to
San
go to
Diego's
Austin.
nice.
Is it?
Austin is nice. I like
I want
Austin.
to go to Austin.
Austin and San Diego are cool. And Austin, I wish I had more time there when I went in
Mhm.
September, October. But it's very eclectic. It's very, everybody gets together and it's very relaxed. I guess it's kind of hipsterish.
Yeah.
They call it the hipster mecca and
Mhm.
stuff. So, but it's like outside dining, live bands, like it's the live entertainment capital, right? For
Right. I
US, I
think
think.
so. Yeah.
So, but there's walking areas and stuff like that. It's just a nice little downtown
I would love
area.
to. I definitely would love to go there. I'm not a Miami chick. I don't like Miami. I don't like New York City.
Hmm.
Like for long periods of time. You know what I'm saying? I could
Right,
do a
right.
day in each and be good. I'm just
That's so
that
funny since you
too
used to live in
much.
New York.
Right? I just can't do it in big chunks. I just can't. It's just
Right.
too much for me. Um, and I don't know if it's I don't know. I just like you said, I like more eclectic, hipster,
Hmm.
like low vibe in terms of like chill vibe, I should say.
Yeah.
High vibrational people, but
Yes,
low,
yes.
like chill,
I
just
think
like
Austin and Colorado would be like sister cities.
yes. I've heard that. I've heard that. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. About doing some more traveling within the continental
US.
United States of America.
Yes. Yes,
So
yes, yes.
this it's funny. This is a episode that we planned for a while. It's what it's that is growth. If a lot
Growth.
of you who yes who have watched Insecure, if you remember, I think it was season 2. Kelly, my one of my favorite characters of all time. She did the chef's kisses. You know what I call that? That's growth. It's growth. So that's what this whole episode is going to be about: personal and professional growth.
Yes.
But let's just jump into the tea of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mixed some stuff up. This is what happens when you don't do things for a very long time. Looking at our notes, it would suggest that I would go into the hot tea right now, but that is not what we go into right now. I think what we go into is the actual tea that we're drinking. So a little mix up there, but that's okay.
No
That's
one, no
okay.
worries, no worries.
Y'all know we're about to get into the tea of the day. We're not experts on tea. And trust me, dealing with this PCOS, there's a lot of people out there who believe that they are experts on a whole lot of stuff. That
Yes.
ain't us. We ain't
Yes.
experts on tea. We just tell you what we like, but
Mm-hmm.
you need to make sure that it doesn't mix with your medicine. At another day and another time, I'll tell you how I did something that wasn't. I almost took myself out of there because I wasn't paying attention and almost took something with a
Oh.
supplement and the tea. If I mix it with something, I'd have been. Whew. So please, it is real.
Oh
It is
wow.
real.
Good to
So
know.
just be careful.
Be
So
mindful, be
what are we
aware.
drinking? Yes. What is the tea we're taking?
So we are looking at a medicine ball today,
Mm,
which is a cold fighting concoction. It's actually at Starbucks as a honey citrus mint tea. That just sounds so
it's so
delightful.
delicious. It's very delightful.
I'm so excited with the customizations already set. However, we have the recipe for you to make it at home. This sounds like something that my mom makes, but we just don't call it this.
Right.
Like I feel like I've had this already.
You probably
Um
have.
yeah, yes, I have. Not in this Starbucks concoction, but we make our own, which is very pretty much the same thing. So, if you're going to go the Starbucks route to do this concoction, it's one Starbucks Tavana Peach Tranquility tea bag. That is so delightful. This is the Peach Tranquility. Highly recommend that. This Jade Citrus Mint Tea, 4 ounces of lemonade, 4 ounces of hot water, and 2 teaspoons of honey. So what you're going to do, you're going to combine water and lemonade and heat until hot, either on the stove pot or in the microwave, however, whatever is your fancy. Steep tea bags in the hot lemonade tea mixture. That is so nice. For 2 to 3 minutes, remove tea bags, pour into a mug, add in your honey, and stir and enjoy warm. Because
It's
this
delicious.
this is definitely, you don't want to have, this is not that type of tea that you need hot hot, but it's just one of those like soothing. You just kind of sit there with your hands around the cup and
Yes.
sip type of
I
thing.
remember, yes, I remember at the height of COVID, I saw this suggestion. I think I saw it on TikTok or Pinterest or something. And I was like, I think I had something like this before at Starbucks because I think somebody recommended it to me.
Mhm.
And so I made it and I was like, this is good. You can do a spritz of peppermint,
Mhm.
but it depends because sometimes that peppermint can be overpowering.
Overbearing.
Yeah, and give you
Mhm.
too much of a minty thing. But I remember it being at the height of COVID because people were like, look, keep your respiratory system up, make
Clear.
sure your lungs are clear, drink this. It's going to help of a more natural way because, look, you have lemon,
Mhm.
you have honey, you have
Mhm.
citrus, you have things that are supposed to help fight colds.
Right.
And so this was one of the suggestions. I'm going to tell you now, it's become so popular that you trying to find peach tranquility tea or jade
Mm.
citrus mint
Good
tea,
luck.
you're not going to do it. It's not on Amazon. It's not in the grocery stores. They done TikTok done made these people buy this stuff and it is gone. Okay. So you may have to do your own variation. You could just
Mhm.
do a peach tea. I actually have a jade peach tea
Ooh.
that I got, and it might be on one of our teas for coming up. I found this tea company called Sama.
Mhm.
I got a gingerbread tea from them, a gingerbread latte tea, I think it was, it's
Mm.
something like that, and a jade peach tea, and it is very delicious. It is a new company. It's a minority owned company, I believe.
Mhm.
So we'll highlight them in a later episode, but you may be able to
Nice.
do that with a citrus mint tea. I'm pretty sure you can find a variation. Use a
Mhm.
simply lemonade. That's
Yes.
what's gonna get it hitting.
Ooh,
That
the
simply
Simply.
lemonade,
Okay.
yes,
Note
is
to self, and I do enjoy Simply. I'm drinking Simply
yes.
orange juice right now.
Yes. Oh, that's my jam. So,
Yes, it is
like,
delightful. That's my
yes.
day
So,
word for today is delightful, by the way.
yes. Delightful. We should do that. The word
Yes,
of the day. I'm
word
gonna
of
write
the
that.
day,
Yeah.
delightful.
I hope our producer is taking notes. Word
of
for
the
the
day.
day.
Delightful. We're going to expand our vocabularies
Yes,
and just add different hashtags for the day going
yes.
forward.
So delightful. And every time you hear us say
Yeah.
the word delightful, take a sip of tea. If
There
it
you go.
wasn't in the morning, I take a shot, but
Right. I
it
mean,
still tastes good.
hey, it's 5 o'clock
Well,
somewhere. I mean,
yeah,
it could be
it was,
brunch, depending, it could be brunch. I'm just
and
saying.
there you go. Okay, there we go.
Hmm.
Hmm.
You never know. You got to
You
make it
never
work.
know. Yes. So let's get into some of the hot tea that we have. It's not a lot.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, we all have come to learn that Regina King's son has
Mm.
passed away. He committed suicide, I think, on his birthday, which is
Oh,
really
dear
sad.
God.
They both
Yes.
share birthdays in January. I think he was 25 or 26.
Hmm.
He was very young, and they had a very good relationship. They were very
They were
close.
really close.
They were. He was her date to a lot of the award shows. They spoke very highly of one another. You could tell they had a very loving mother son bond.
Hmm.
And I just think it's sad to, we don't know what this young man was struggling with, and I'm not going to make any assumptions. But I
Hmm.
will say that a lot of people who have mental health challenges, COVID has
Mm.
amplified those challenges, right? Because
Yes.
you've gotten out of your routine. I mean, I just saw a study on the news that were talking about how kids are being negatively impacted by the lack of socialization that is
Mm.
occurring during COVID. This one woman was interviewed, and her son has now developed anxiety because of the effects of COVID, like him listening to the news and
Mm.
listening to what his friends are saying and hearing all of these different pieces of
Messages.
information and messages. He doesn't like going into the large crowds. He doesn't like going to the grocery store with his mom. She said he loved going to the movies. He doesn't even want to go to a movie. He doesn't want to see
Mm.
anything. It's just like, and a doctor had said, we keep saying children are resilient. Children are resilient
Mm.
in normal situations. This is not normal. So we have to stop saying that the kids will be okay and start looking at it as like they may not be. And we need to figure out a
Hmm.
way to navigate this. We are
Yes.
in very strange, uncharted waters here. People are
Very much
pulling their
so.
kids out of school, deciding to homeschool them, which is your business. Um, and for a variety of different reasons,
Yes.
right? Um, we are in a time where we're really pitting people against each other
The
for either
negativity.
wanting taking the vaccine or not wanting to take the vaccine. You have people. I read something recently where people are talking about um, you are listening to the oppressor
What?
tell you. Yeah, it's basically saying science is for white people and black people are slaves if they listen to science.
Oh dear.
Because science
Um.
was created by the oppressor, so it's doing
Right.
nothing but
Okay.
oppressing you, and you need to do a more holistic approach to your health. And I
Okay.
mean,
There's some of that is fair, but there's
there are
there's a
some fair points there.
combination. There's got to be a combination or a
Right,
compromise, and they can influence, you know, each other,
right, right.
and it
And
can be informed.
exactly. And you look at that and you say to yourself, well, okay, all have had experiences with health disparities
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to doctors, the health field, and people
Yes.
of color. We also know that the money's in the medicine. So,
Mm.
of course, cures are not the
Profitable.
right. But we also understand, if it's just historically speaking, that a lot of black people were the first doctors. The
Mm-hmm.
first, we are some of the people who have come up with some of these cures and vaccines. We just never
Concoctions.
got the credit for it because of who we
Exactly.
are. So, I mean,
That's how it was
it
for
is
us growing up. We never went to the doctor. My mom used all holistic stuff for us primarily, outside of like the required by law stuff.
right,
But we were like, and for that, there's definitely value in that because we had perfect attendance pretty much all throughout elementary school. We were never
right,
sick because of all the
right.
little concoctions and stuff. My parents, holistic stuff, but it's everybody's choice.
It's everybody's choice. And I do believe that there are some conditions, ailments, and things that are definitely better for managed through a holistic way. But I guess I'm jaded from holistic approaches because my mother was heavy in that and
Mm-hmm.
tried to cure her cancer through an holistic approach. And I strongly believe that that is why her cancer spread as when it came back, that it
Mm-hmm.
spread as fast as it did, and that is why she died, in my opinion. And people
Mm-hmm.
can think what they want, but this is me speaking from my experience and what I saw with my mom. Like my mom sent me to a herbologist to look into my eyes to see what my issue was. And there were some issues that he did
Uh-huh.
point out that were real. And I'm not knocking that, but I think my mom would have benefited based more so from radiation than a packet of herbs to help her
Mm-hmm.
with her cancer. But again, to each his own.
Right.
But I would just say that COVID has taken a toll on a lot of people. So please, I will say, and it is a balanced approach. It's a balanced
Yeah.
approach with your health, and it's a balanced approach with your mental health as well. I don't think pills are always the way to go to deal
Mm-mm.
with anxiety, depression. Some people though need to be on medication
Yes.
because they just do, and that's just a fact.
And some need
Um,
them adjusted, need their medication, and that takes time.
and it does. But I will say that it's a balanced approach. I will also say in this season and this time, check on your strong friends as well, because those of us who are strong are only sometimes strong for the show of it. You may not know what we're struggling with on a day-to-day basis. So check in
So
on your friends,
true.
period. You know what I'm saying? If you haven't heard from somebody, how are you doing? How's your mental health? How are you feeling? Just do that.
And if you ask them and they say they're fine, but you're still not sure, don't press but so much. But I definitely, there's the concern and the appreciation is there. But sometimes if you push too much, they won't say anything. But sometimes if they just want to have someone ask, but
Yeah,
definitely just still check. But
check on your
don't.
friends.
But sometimes they may not know how to approach it with you either. So don't dismiss them if they're like, I'm fine, because that
Right.
may not really be the case
Exactly.
at all.
So just prayers to her and her family and during this
So
troubling
sad.
time. I just parents are never supposed to bury their children, and so I
Mm-mm.
just understand that this is just going to be difficult. Cardi B wins a libel suit against blogger Tasha K. I don't know if you know Tasha K. She has this show. It's on YouTube and
Mm-hmm.
Patron or Patron, whatever that is. I call it Patron.
Patron, Patreon, Patron, same difference. Yeah. Hmm.
But the blogger has this thing like Unwind with Tasha K. And she's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs too. I think I mentioned her before.
Yeah.
But she basically kept posting these videos, and I don't even know if I talked about this before, but she kept posting these videos about Cardi B on her website and on her YouTube page, saying that Cardi was a prostitute, Cardi was a drug addict. Cardi B had herpes and gave the herpes to her daughter, like all of these things. And Cardi
Oh
actually
my
reached out
God.
to her and said, "Can you please just take these down? These are true. These are rumors. It's hurting my family. It's hurting me." And the girl said, "No."
Oh
She
wow.
said, "If you want me to take them down, you gonna have to sue me." And so Cardi did, and Cardi got her
What?
coins. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Cardi won
Ooh.
in grand total $4 or $5 million. Um,
What?
yeah, because it was like she got, damages, and then punitive damages were different, right?
Oh yeah.
Legally you get damages, like how has this affected you, like
Hmm.
financially, how has this affected you like emotionally, how has this affected you, whatever. But then punitive damages are to punish you, like, and
Right.
in addition to the actual damages this person has gone through, I'm going to punish you by adding on
Wow.
an
More.
additional whatever amount. And so her punitive damages made it go up to about $5 million.
Oh
And
snap.
they had hood reporters. I call them. They were bloggers that went into the courtroom and came out and were actually like live,
Oh really?
going
Like on
live.
Facebook or something?
Yeah, and then Instagram, they would come out the
Oh,
courtroom
okay.
basically giving a play-by-play of what was happening. And two of the bloggers did say that Tasha K basically admitted that she lied, that these weren't true. And yeah, she wasn't going to take them down. So that was probably where the punitive damages came from. And so she won, and
Ooh.
now she's saying she's appealing, and then didn't have any remorse about it. She went live and basically was like, "I don't regret a thing."
Wow.
So
Really?
she's not going to win the appeal. And if I were her,
No.
and whoever her attorney is, should tell her to shut the hell up.
I was about to say, who's her attorney? Because it's gonna be at some point where they're gonna be like, okay, Fisher cut bait, you gotta pay $5 million.
Just shut up. Because if she's petty like 50 Cent with Tierra Marie,
Oh.
she gonna go and she she's going to go and get her money and get a judgment, which means every little bit of money that woman gets, because even if she decides to go bankrupt, she's still
Yeah.
going to get her coins because that judgment gets rolled up into the bankruptcy. Now, Cardi may not get the full amount, but she going to
Right.
get something. And it's not even about the money. I would
It's
do it
not. It's
too.
a
If I
principle.
ask you to do it and you don't do it,
I
knowing
tried
that
to
it's a
approach
lie,
this in a different,
right.
a mature way, but
Now, she could
mm,
have been like, she could have did it. What I do is allegedly, but I believe it.
right. Allegedly, but I believe it.
And then it would have probably negated the whole situation. But she said this was fact. You cannot do that.
Wow. Libel.
Like, or she said it with her chest. And now the bitch coming out $5 million. And I don't know if you seen her, but I know that bitch ain't got $5 million.
I was about to say, is she in a financial situation to even?
That bitch probably even got $5,000. Let's keep it 100.
Oh, damn.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't call her a bitch because that's not cool. But I'm
She
sorry.
lied on. I mean, we don't know Cardi.
No,
However, when people do that to you just cause you trying to get some press, and now look at you, look
now
at
look
you,
at you. Look at you,
look at you. What's the other what's his name? Judge. Um.
Mathis.
Yes. Is he the one that we call everyone a crackhead?
Yeah, yes, he calls everybody a crackhead. And they do be crackheads. He be like, I know a crackhead when I see one. I'm from Detroit.
Like I would have loved to hear Judge Mathis do, I don't know, what do you say, oversee, litigate, you're the lawyer,
Hmm.
over this case. Just to be like, you just gonna stand there and lie? Are you a crackhead that you just gonna lie and just make it up and just say it with your chest like that?
Well, she did, and she said it with her chest, and she gonna have to come out 5 million.
Oh well.
Um, and then lastly, the Janet Jackson documentary. I don't know how many people watched it. I'm not gonna talk too much in depth about it. It was good.
I
I
love
didn't
Janet.
personally. I know you love Janet.
I
Janet to you is like what
do.
Tina and Beyonce are to me.
Yes, I love Janet.
I didn't learn anything new
Mm-hmm.
per se. I knew she was married to Renee.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned how their
Elizondo.
yes, I learned how their relationship came to be. I learned why
Mm-hmm.
their relationship ended.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I knew she was with Jermaine Dupri.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed they broke up because he cheated. And then when it was confirmed that that's why they broke up, everybody was like, "Oh my God, Jermaine Dupri cheated. He's a man." Like, hello, good morning. Are we not
Mm-hmm.
living in the United States of America on this planet
And there
called
we have
Earth?
it.
like,
This place called Earth.
like, hello, duh. Like, if Jay Z cheated on Beyonce, if Halle Berry could get cheated on,
There
Janet
you go.
could get cheated on too.
It's an equal
Okay.
opportunity
Yes.
situation.
Um, I will say that it's funny. Black Twitter still is not taking a foot off of Justin Timberlake's neck, even though she asked Black Twitter to take a foot off
Really?
of Justin
After
Timberlake's
after
neck.
the what do you call it? The
The
Super
Super
Bowl.
Bowl. She said they're friends. They just talked a couple days ago. She was like, he never came out to say anything because she told him not to come out to say anything because she understood at that time it wasn't about him and it really wasn't about the Super Bowl. It was more
Right.
about her and her family because at the same time
Mm.
her brother was on trial the second time for the child molestation
Oh,
allegations. So it was really, in her mind, just a situation to just
to
tear the
hype up.
family down.
Hmm.
So it didn't matter. That's why Justin never. But
Said
again, that's
anything.
coming from her. My opinion, if you still want to have your foot on Justin Timberlake's neck for this and for Britney, then that's your business. Both
Mm.
of them don't care. Britney didn't said she forgave Justin. She, Janet Jackson said she forgave Justin.
Right.
It ain't in it's not my place to say
How about it was
no.
none of our areolas that popped out? So why do we care?
Right.
Just saying. For in that regard,
I think
that you're
here's what
still on Justin, because there's other stuff we can worry about.
I think this is what it is, and this is where I understand it to be. People are saying if it was a pink titty, then it would be an issue.
Mm,
It wouldn't have been an issue.
Mhm.
And it's also, people say this is what happens, which is true, that when a black woman gets harmed and a
Mhm.
white person is involved, it's always us that takes the brunt
Higher
of
road. Mhm.
whatever is going on. So
Touche.
he was equally as culpable in that situation,
Yep.
but bore none of the
Brunt.
responsibility, the
The weight of
the weight
everything.
of everything. Like his
The
career
press.
flourished, right? While
It
her,
was like a stepping stone for him. It
right,
elevated him more to other folks because it was the negative and the yin yang, the way they presented it.
right. And I think it's also because people, and then on the other side of it, I think that people still feel like have this negative, like people feel that Justin Timberlake is a culture vulture, and
Hmm.
whether you that I personally don't believe that he's a culture vulture. I
Right.
feel like he gets close to the line, but it's like if he's a culture vulture, then do we say Bruno Mars is a culture vulture? I don't think Bruno Mars is a culture vulture. And Bruno Mars says that some of his idols and the people that he looked up to coming up are some of the same people that Justin Timberlake said he looked up to.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I get it. I understand it. I
Hmm.
do see where he is wrong in a lot of areas. Um,
Agreed. It's a
but
fine line from first. Well, it isn't. It isn't.
it's a very fine line. But in the same breath, it's just like, you either gonna rock with him or you're not.
Yeah,
So,
pretty much.
but that's all the hot tea I have today. So,
All right, all right. So we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll jump right into our tea time segment of growth. And we are back. So, talking about growth, beginning of the year, starting out, looking ahead to how we want to uplift or change or alter whatever we think about going into this year. So, self growth, as you all know, is known as personal growth. You take time to develop new skills, behaviors. You kind of sit and reflect on your reactions, the cost benefit analysis of what worked, what didn't work. And certain things may come to light that you really want to work on and focus on, primarily within your career, your personal life. Everybody wants to go to the gym, work out, lose weight. Everyone starts a new habit in the beginning of in January, trying to break old habits, and looking out at where you reflected from the year before, or maybe it doesn't have to be a year before, just a week or so. And you're like, you know what, I want to look at some things or how you interact with people. So, there's so many different areas where you can have growth. Zarifa mentioned this earlier. When you're looking at your life and looking at your job and where you started out and where you are now, we've all grown in our careers. And, Z and I have, as long as we've known each other, we've been in different places of where we started and where we are now, and supervising people or not, and then learning how to engage in certain situations where we can't react the way we want to because we're at work.
right.
Z.
Yes, I would say, when talking about all of this, and when we're talking about growth, I think people can, like you said, there we have growth in our personal lives, and growth in our professional lives, and usually it's all about thinking about new skills, behaviors, actions, attitudes, habits, reactions, whatever it is. When we're talking about growth in our career, like people don't understand there are two mindsets that you can have at work, and maybe when listening to this, you're going to have to figure out where you are in this growth
Right,
in this growth
continuum.
narrative,
Growth is a
right?
continuum.
It is. You could be somebody who has a fixed mindset when it comes to growth, especially in your career. And that is a mindset where people believe that their intelligence is fixed. Like you're born with a fixed intelligence, you will reach that fixed intelligence in adulthood. It's static. Your natural talents, they'll be reached in adulthood. They're not going to go any further than what you were already born with. And when people have that type of mindset, they avoid challenges in life. They give up easily. They become intimidated or threatened by other people's successes. They may not seek new opportunities, right? They may see a job that they're qualified for, but feel like, oh, they have two skill sets that I don't have, and I'm not going to be able to get those skill sets, so I'm not going to go out for that position. They don't move to a career; they just stick with the job. And we understand that there's a difference between having a
There
job
is.
and having a career. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with having a job
Mm-hmm.
versus a career. But there are people who want to have careers that stay in jobs because of the fixed mindset.
Right.
Um, you know, a lot of times there's a laziness component, I would say, attached to a fixed mindset because you don't want to put in the work and dedication that it's going to take to make a career change. Some people believe that they might fail at a task if they have a fixed mindset because they believe they're not smart enough to do it. Because again, they believe intelligence is static. It's not going to, you cannot increase your intelligence in any way. I can't learn anything. You cannot teach an old dog new tricks. So I'm not even going to try. They ignore feedback from others. So do you know people in your life that just don't want to hear feedback? When I was a supervisor, there are a lot of people that I supervised that had fixed mindsets. They didn't want to hear any way that they could grow. They just thought that where they were fine. A lot
Right.
of it is fear, right? A lot of it is fear because growth equals change, and a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
don't like change. So they like, no, no,
No,
no,
I'm
no,
good.
I'm
For
good.
every solution, they had a problem.
Exactly. Or they don't want to go into another position or grow
Mm-hmm.
within their career because then they're going to have to learn something. And if they don't get it right, then you're going to see my flaws. And I don't want to be judged by you,
Yes.
so I choose not to do it. Um, Feedback is personal criticism to them.
Yeah.
No, boo, I'm just giving you feedback on how you can improve. We all can improve. And that we,
Everybody.
everybody, when I was a supervisor, I used to be like, I'm telling you this because we all can improve. I'm giving you this class to take because we all can improve. I take classes because I know I'm not perfect in any of these areas. Sometimes you may think you're good and you need to work on it. I
Mm-hmm.
would consistently take classes to work on my writing, to work on my speaking,
You
you
have to
know?
evolve and learn and
Right.
progress. You can't be stagnant.
You can't. So the opposite of that is what? If we're talking about a fixed mindset, then the opposite of that is a growth mindset. And those people believe that my intelligence and my talent is always going to be able to be improved upon. And it's just going to take a little bit of effort or a lot of effort and learning. Um, these are people who decide at 50 to go back to school to get their master's. Or,
Mm-hmm.
people who keep taking certification after certification because they want
Mm-hmm.
to keep, moving up. Um, they recognize that there are going to be some setbacks,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a bounce back. I might set myself, this might set me back, but the bounce back is going to be greater.
Right.
Um, these are highly motivated individuals. You know, they present themselves as being fulfilled. They have high levels of confidence in their skills and their abilities. They only see failings as temporary and changeable.
Mm-hmm.
They see that as something that's crucial for learning. They see that as something that is going to give them a sense of resilience, motivation, and performance. These people are lifelong learners, right? They put in more effort to learn. They um, view feedback as a source of information. They willingly embrace challenges. They look at other people's successes as a source of inspiration. So when
That's
you're hearing
important.
this, it is. Do you have a fixed mindset or do you have a growth mindset? Or are you somewhere in between? Because
Mm-hmm.
you could teeter. There could be some areas where you're like, I think I always do this, and I'm sorry. But Gen X, I think, is a mix. We are a mix of
Yeah.
fixed um and fixed
And
and growth
growth.
mindsets, right? I think Gen Z is definitely growth mindsets. Them babies will stay in a job for 2 weeks, and if they don't like it, they gone.
They're like, I'm
This ain't
out.
for me.
I'm out. That's a good and bad. That's
That
good and
is.
bad.
That
But I,
is.
I did want to comment on the whole other success source of inspiration, which I think is really important because a lot of times, the mentality in your career within the black community, there's the whole crabs in the barrel. People tearing
Mm-hmm.
each other down.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't look to each other for inspiration. You just look, oh, you trying to be better. Oh, you trying to, oh, you think you this, or you think you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
the negative connotation that I've seen sometimes within the communities of color when you excel and you
Mm-hmm.
have a positive outlook on some things because it's not absolute,
Mm-hmm.
but some people definitely use other people's success as inspiration. And then on the
Mm-hmm.
flip side, some people are stagnant in the fixed mindset and just sit there and hate on what somebody else is doing
Mm-hmm.
and don't
Mm-hmm.
try to or and because they have that fixed mindset, they're gonna look at them with envy instead
Mm-hmm.
of saying, "Oh, you know what? That person did that. Maybe I can do that too."
Right. I think fixed mindsets are definitely generational. I think
Mhm.
that fixed mindsets are something that we are taught at an early age, right?
Mhm.
Because I don't think anybody, think about it. My daughter is 3 and she's highly independent, highly motivated. She knows what she wants. And like you getting in the way of that is a problem for her at 3. And I'm trying to balance the line of getting her to do what her parents need her to do, but
Mhm.
still allowing her the autonomy of being able to make the decisions and choices for herself. Because
Right.
I feel like I don't want her to think that there is no opportunity for growth in her life. I don't ever
Mhm.
want her to feel stagnant. I don't want her to feel like we have limit her abilities and options and choices based on our perception of what the world is. Because I
Mhm.
think a lot of people don't grow because of what other
Their
people's
perception.
perception of the world is. So case in point, when we're talking about our careers and we're talking about specifically in the government, I know people who are institutionalized as government employees. They
Mhm.
feel like the only way to get to the top is by following these particular sets of
Yeah.
steps. And most of that is rooted in you just have to be here a long time. You have to put your time in. And
Yeah.
that is not the only way. And that is their outlook. So when
Mhm.
you move around and when you're starting, and I'm not knocking people, but I came in the government. There were people who were GS5s that were in the government at the time I got there, and they had been in the government for 30 years. I'm nowhere near a GS5 anymore. And I know these people are still at that level. But why
Mhm.
is that? Why is that?
Because they got a
But
good
you look
government
at,
job in their mind, and that's
right.
what keeps them fixed.
Or they feel like their mindset is fixed and they're
Mhm.
like, well, I'm not going to put any extra effort. I knew people would say, why are you doing extra work? You're not getting
Mhm.
paid for that. Granted, I'm not going to be, you're not just going to keep giving me stuff that's not within my
Scope of work,
right.
duties, or whatever.
But there are times where you do have to put yourself out there to show the skills that you have in order for
Right.
someone to take a chance on you. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They want you to pay them for everything. Oh, you're
You
going
got
to
to
pay
see.
me.
Right.
I want the job, but you're gonna have to pay me to figure out if I'm good for the job.
Right. To figure out that's true. True.
And fixed is safe.
Hmm.
And a lot of people like being safe. I
Nothing
don't
wrong
like
with being safe,
there's
but
nothing wrong with being safe. I think there's a time to make a decision on whether like at 60 are you just gonna be like I'm gonna go and try out for like I mean I think
I'm going
if
to try out for Cirque du Soleil at 65. Let's be realistic in our growth.
there's some
Although,
real real
some people could, I'm sure.
some
But
people could. Janet probably could. Janet is in
yeah,
her
she
50s
could.
and
Mm.
well could probably do it.
Man, when I saw her in concert, I was like, is she 50? Oh, Lord, I need to get
She
it
looked good.
together.
Sis
Good.
looked good. I mean,
Good.
hey. But
Mm.
but just saying all of that, I'm just saying like, people tend to try to project their reality on you,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to do that with my child. And because I understand that this growth mentality or lack of growth mentality starts very young.
Yeah.
And we can't do that to our black children because we
Mm-mm.
already have a lot of obstacles. And I see this more so with black, I'm sorry to say this, people of color, especially black people, tend to stay in a fixed mindset more than any other group of people that I've seen.
Mm-hmm. I think it's
I've,
generational too, for protection.
yes.
It's protection. Like I think one of I forget what episode this was, probably before we left, before we took a break. The the episode where the family was trying to protect the a black son who was could have passed, but the grandmother I can't remember. Do you understand what you know what I'm talking about? The grandmother projected on him what he would be as a black son encountering, and it kept him from putting himself out there.
Oh yes, Karamo
Yes.
from Queer Eye for the yeah Queer Eye yeah
Yes,
yeah
yes. But no, that's a case in point. That's an example that you
yes
projected so that person didn't they kept themselves from growing in certain areas based on
mm-hmm
what their family member projected on them, but it was the intention was to protect him.
Yes.
as a black man in America.
Yes. Yes. And and it's unfortunate because now but here's the flip side to that, right? We do harm ourselves a lot from not taking the route that isn't safe. But
Hmm.
sometimes you have to understand with that growth is not always going to equal success in the workplace. So you
Exactly.
growing isn't always going to give you a higher paying salary, the corner office, you know what I mean? It's not going to
Hmm.
give you the company car or the credit card. It's not going to give you 80% travel, 20%. It's not going to give you that all the time. But sometimes growth may just equal peace.
Amen.
Sometimes growth in your workplace may just equal peace.
That is a lifesaver, y'all.
I had to learn that piece the hard way. My ego did a lot of damage to me when I switched positions. My ego was telling me all kinds of stuff that wasn't true, that just wasn't even reality. I let my ego do a lot.
Right?
And then I realized, bitch, this is called growth.
It's gross. It's gross.
This lateral move for you is peace, bitch. It's peace.
It's what you
and,
needed, what you
and you
wanted.
asked for it and you got it. So what are you complaining about?
Mm.
But that was
And that's the
ego.
the complaining component of if you're not going to grow, that should not allow you to complain about the fact that you're not growing
Right.
at all. And just bitch and moan about your situation when you have opportunities, but you choose not to
Two.
embrace
Right.
them,
Right.
which
Hello,
is
good
just not.
morning.
Mm,
And I'll say this before we move it to what our personal growth in our personal life looks like. Growth in the workplace can also result in a deeper understanding that what is meant for you is for you, and what is not received isn't
mm,
the end of the world. And that's
mm.
something else that I had to learn. A lot of times, people think, okay, I'm going to try, and they try and they get burnt. And they get
Yeah.
burnt because they don't get promoted or they don't get this particular opportunity. And so they say, I'm not going to try again. Because, see, when I tried, this is what happens.
Mm,
And you have to understand that what's for you is going to be for you.
mm.
You can't be worried about all these other
Hello.
things. I had applied for a job and I didn't get it. And I was like, I was almost devastated, right? Then I took that step back and I said, bitch, you didn't want that job anyway. Like, now that you see what it's
That was all
about,
ego.
would you have wanted it? No, it was ego. And then I realized what's for me is going to be for me. That
Mm,
job is not for me. You couldn't, and at this day and time, you could not pay me. I don't care if Jesus himself came down, told me to do that job. He was going to give me 350. Well, I don't know. If he said 350,000 a year, I might have,
might have to reconsider that one. Z.
I might have to
Yeah.
reconsider.
Yeah. Take a beat. Take a step back on that.
I might have to tell him I might have to get back to you tomorrow. There is a limit thow.
Right. Let me
Is
think on
is a
that. Let
point.
me think on that.
There is a cash limit that I would not do it, and then there's a threshold that I would cross it. I don't know where that's at yet.
I mean, facts. Can't knock you.
But again, you just have to understand that what's for you is for you, but don't let that hinder you from growing in your
Yes.
and don't let your age or somebody tell you you're 45, you 46. You don't need to be changing careers. Bitch, you can change your career whenever you want.
Hello. Thank you. Mm,
You in a
mm.
job for 15 years and you want something different. If you want to do that, then do it, bitch.
Go
Do
ahead.
it. Don't
Enjoy
let
it.
nobody tell you you can't. That's what you call growth.
Growth. And if you want to change careers at 50, 65, 70, you know what? You had to go through some personal life growth to get to that point till you make that decision, right? For you to
Mm-hmm.
be like, okay, if I feel like I'm going to be a anesthesiologist at 85.
You ain't gonna be in my operating room, but I appreciate the sentiment.
I mean, I hear you. I see your point. I see your point, but
Shout out to the 85-year-old anesthesiologist.
yes, please give them their props. Give them their props. So, we say all this because when you're doing personal growth, it's a huge commitment. Your energy, your very essence changes. There's some seemingly small life adjustments you've been making can have huge, like that saying, can have huge impacts on your life. It's the
Mm-hmm.
little things that build up. Those Any little self-help thing on personal growth will always be like, just make one change today. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the little things that add up for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're looking at your relationships, your interpersonal relationships, they can bring out the best and the worst of you. And we all know that. We've talked about this over the past year or so. We experience happiness, doubtful situations, hard moments where you're just in angst and you can't believe, like, what is going on? Why am I here? This can't be life. This
Mm-hmm.
cannot be life. And usually when you
Mm-hmm.
get to the this can be life conversation. Those are usually when you sit down, you're like, okay, I need to make some changes. And that's where some growth comes out of that. And you
Yes.
try to figure out how can the growth in this can't be life situation move forward and help me minimize any harmful, outpouring of what's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully take advantage of the good situations that are present that you're not necessarily always focusing on, that are balancing the other situations that are causing you angst and making you kind of step back and be like, I think I really need to look at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know it's so important. And why do our relationships change? A lot of times when you're going through this, and we've talked about this before, when we looking at our if you're looking at your friends group, and you realize that some people are toxic or not toxic, and you realize, I need to step away from that situation, and you're like, I can't be with this person, I can't be around this person anymore. And how you interact with that person, you may not be like a spoon cool with them anymore, but you still can interact with them. That's an area of growth, and a lot of your personal relationships will change as you are trying to change yourself. And some
Mm-hmm.
people are going to be down with it and support you, and other people
Yes,
won't.
we ain't.
But when you're looking at the impetus for changes in your relationships, you got to look at how passionate is your self growth, is your desire to change, and is your focus ultimately using your all of your energy, your ambitions and feelings to change. And that means that your attentions are going to change away from people that you normally interact with. Personal conflicts. Sometimes your new personality, like, oh, new girl, who this? New phone, who this? And you be like, I'm sorry, who are you? And, oh, you acting brand new, and it doesn't match with your current friends, family, partners. And they're like, I don't know who she thinks she is now. She acting all brand new.
Mm.
And sometimes you need to do that for yourself. Realizing convenience of your relationships. This is a
Mm.
big one.
That is.
This is a big one because a lot of us, we don't want to change. We don't want to grow. We like our little situations that we in. And just because someone's been in your life forever doesn't mean they should be there forever.
Mm-hmm. Say that again.
Just because they've been in your life forever does not mean they should be there forever. Because that comes into play with loyalty, and not knocking loyalty, but sometimes loyalty will get you caught up,
Loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. That's what.
and it will stunt your growth.
Kendrick
It will
Lamar
stunt,
told y'all.
yes, will
Kendrick
stunt
and
y'all.
Rihanna told y'all.
And there you have it, folks. And then, you're always gonna, not always, sometimes you're really gonna get some negative reactions from your friends and family. Folks that are around you, and if you see you're moving, they may see themselves as stagnant, and they feel that that's intimidating. They're like, well, if she's moving, maybe I feel like I'm going to get left, or they're not really ready to take some self reflection time to look at you and be like, or look at themselves rather, and be like, maybe I need to change, but they're not in a space to do that. But they look at you, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's when resentment kind of comes into play sometimes. And
Mm-hmm.
you're moving ahead, you're succeeding, and that's what people will be like, oh, how you doing it? Some people be like, I'm blessed and I'm highly favored. I'm this and that. And people hear those reactions and they resent that. Even
Mm-hmm.
though they're like, yeah, I'm down with you, I support you, but then when that success comes, they're not really down as much as they thought. And that may come from unconsciously resenting it because they have not tapped into where they need to grow from or
You
grow
know,
into.
I oh, you saying this is a word for me. I had a conversation with someone recently, and we were talking about how we deal with conflict,
Hmm.
and in the conversation with us talking about how we deal with conflict, I used to be the person that would scorch the earth, right? I would go from 0 to 60. You wronged me, I'm wronging you, your mama, your daddy. I don't care. I'm telling you about yourself, your daddy about himself, your mama about herself, your dog about itself. I just had this thing where I felt like you wronged me. I'm going to tell you how fucked up you were.
Right.
And now I'm very zen like. I'm like, well, I tend to look at every situation and I'd say, how can I approach this to get the person to
Mm-hmm.
understand where I'm coming from
Mm-hmm.
and also get them to understand that there's some accountability that they need to take, which is a topic for next
Mm-hmm.
week.
Yeah,
That is growth.
it is.
That is the type of personal growth that we're talking about. And it could have been, I didn't get negative reactions. I actually got positive reaction. Like my sister was like, "Ooh, Jesus, thank you," because that bitch before I didn't like her. You may get positive reaction. There may be some people in your life that'll be like, "I'm glad you decided to take a look at
Yeah.
yourself because
Mm-hmm.
you were fucked up."
And you were not really cool to be around, and I'm glad you just course corrected.
Exactly. And so don't think that every time you do growth there's going to be a negative
Mm-hmm.
implications to that. There could be very positive implications. There could be some people that are very happy to see you change.
Yes.
There are going to be some
And
people
will
though that
support you.
right that are going to be like, case in point, you could have a crew, y'all all smoke weed, you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to smoke weed no more,
You gotta get a new crew.
or
Maybe.
they just accept you and say,
Yep.
hey, thank you, I ain't gonna smoke weed anymore, or we just won't smoke weed around you.
Right. And
Or you
that's a
gonna
change.
right. Or you may have some friends like, oh, this bitch thinks she too good. She can't smoke weed ass anymore.
Mm-hmm. All that. That's a low vibration there.
Right. You
Mm.
know?
It's so important though. But if they're gonna accept you, and your friends and family are gonna accept this new change or activities that you're trying to do, then it also comes around with spiritual awareness. A lot of times
Mm-hmm.
people have an epiphany, be it in
Mm.
church or some sort of life altering situation of sorts. I know I
Mm-hmm.
can speak to that for certain things that I'm going through. And it really makes and that is the trigger point that makes you be like, you know what? Me and God need to get right. So if that's what you want, and then you decide to make some changes that will support that once you become more spiritually aware,
Mm-hmm.
and how that may look is different because what you think is spiritually aware from when you were growing up until you're grown and have your own thoughts and experiences and understanding of what religion and versus spirituality is and what that may mean to you will
Mm-hmm.
come into play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of letting go of other people's thought processes um, when you're when they're maybe projecting on you is important because you could really slip back into your old familiar way if
Mm-hmm.
you rely too much on what everyone else is saying, but also with familiar. It's familiar to you and you're going to backslide a little bit. I mean, that's important. You got to accept that as part of the growth.
Mm-hmm.
It can be alienating. Um, Definitely confusing of what to let go, what not to let go. Should I
Mm-hmm.
still keep doing this? Do I need to grow through this? Do I need to just stop cold turkey? Or should I be looking to somebody else or something else to figure out how to do this?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's a new area for you to kind of sit and back and think about. And I haven't reacted like this, like in initial situation. Now I reacted like this. So like one
Mm-hmm.
thing that I heard a lot is like when people, and I know you've seen the Z on the interwebs, like the quote that's like when you've grown when someone's hurt you and you ask that person who hurt you instead of
Mm-hmm.
trying to cuss them out or
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, approaching the situation to be like, well, what am I going to learn from this? How can I leverage this moving into the next situation
Right.
and build on it? But that doesn't
Right.
always happen,
It
you
doesn't.
know.
And this is like, I don't want to say it's like a 3-part series or 2-part series, but there are themes that are attached to growth that keep people from growing that we'll talk about. Accountability is one. People don't
Mhm.
like to take accountability. There's a lot of guilt sometimes and shame when
Mm-hmm.
people need to grow, because sometimes they are the wrong, they need to grow because of the negative impacts. They need to grow because of the negativity that they bring to the table, right?
Mm.
And to change and grow, sometimes you have to look in your inward and say, I have to take accountability for this. And
Mm-hmm.
to do that, it's gonna create a lot of guilt and a lot of shame.
Yeah.
Can I get through the guilt and the shame to take accountability? And then you grow. But
Right.
a lot of
It's a
people don't want to do
process.
that. It's a process. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know,
It's
it's
hard. You really got
it's
to
very
that
hard.
introspection, that looking in the mirror
It's
thing.
tough.
You know,
It's
ask Michael
tough.
Jackson, that man in the mirror. It's a
Yes.
lot of work. It's a lot of work, cause, and then you got to think about, well, can you, if you, while you are growing, maybe in this situation, the people that you are around you for this time aren't what you need. And you may need
Right.
to start reaching new relationships with other folks and understand what you want and what you won't, what you don't
Right.
want and what you will and won't tolerate.
Right. Sometimes growth may be talking to your friend, your partner, your family member, and saying, especially in a relationship, you may have to go to your partner and say, look, I'm not here anymore. I'm here. How are we going to get here?
Yes, you have to
Because
have
if
the.
we can't get here, then we may need to just separate.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there's one thing I wholeheartedly believe, is that there is no shame in there. Here are the places there should be no shame. There should be no shame in breaking up with a friend. There should be no shame or guilt for breaking up with a friend. There should be no shame or guilt associated with distancing yourself from family members. There should be no
Mm-hmm.
shame or guilt from ending a relationship, whether it's a marriage or, a partnership, or there should be no shame or guilt associated with that if those relationships are no longer serving you because
Mm.
you have grown past those
On
relationships.
another level.
If that relationship isn't okay, case in point, during the documentary, Janet Jackson said she broke up with Jermaine Dupri because she heard he cheated.
Mm-hmm.
But she also said that she realized that he could only give her this
Mm.
and she needed this. And she
Mm.
understood he wasn't going to be able to give her this. So their
Right.
relationship had to end. They're still friends.
Served its purpose.
She understood that. And I think a lot of times people associate so much shame and guilt around something that they don't
Mm-hmm.
want to end it because they are fearful, because it's change. Let me tell you what, any
Change.
relationship that is no longer serving me, I have no problems walking away from. Why? Because your ultimate thing is you have to be right with yourself and happy with
Mm.
yourself.
To move
If you're
forward.
if you're not happy with yourself, nothing in your life is going to feel right. A lot of
No.
people's egos get wrapped up into what the hell other people think about what's
Mm.
going on in their life. And then that keeps them stagnant. I don't give a damn what you think. If I don't want to be friends with this person anymore, I don't give a shit what you feel about that. That ain't none of your business.
Hello. And if you don't have to be around them, it shouldn't matter no way.
It shouldn't.
That's between you and that person. It's not easy for folks to walk away because it is definitely going to cause some loneliness and backlash and ego conflict and strain and all that. It's a process, and
It
it's
is.
it's it's such a process, and it's definitely happening generationally.
It is.
Like we talked about, the work life balance, life work balance, COVID, work life balance. We all know how things have changed drastically in the past 2 years. Before, we were hard pressed to be able to telework. Now everyone's like, well, guess you can work from home, and then trying to figure out how do you balance when you're working from home and you have your family and everything is coming together. Like, how do you navigate that? And that's something that people have to look at sometimes and be like, I need to course correct, recalibrate, and refocus how I need to move forward with this. Also, looking at how you discipline your children, spanking versus gentle parenting.
There's a lot of growth in that. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people who have grown past the, and again, these are all asterisks because I'm not judging anybody who decides to pop their children, spank their children, pluck their children, use any reasonable form of physical discipline with their children. But for me personally, I have grown past I'm growing past that perception of that being the only way to discipline, and
Mm-hmm.
understanding that there are other ways. There are ways to discipline a child that do not include the physical laying of hands on them.
Right.
But that's me. I'm not saying that that is wrong for anybody else. I'm just saying me on the path that I'm on, I'm moving past that type of thinking.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I'm telling people, like you said, thinking about before it was like work life balance. Now it's life work balance. My
Yeah.
job has to balance what I have going on in my life. That
Yep.
is a deep shift from where I probably was 5 or 6 years ago, right?
Mm.
5 or 6 years ago, I wasn't thinking about no life work balance. It was work
We
life
work,
balance.
work, work, work. That's
Right,
when we was like pulling like, 60, 70, 80 hour days, weeks.
right. But now, if you can't balance what I have going on in my life, mm,
Mhm.
pause. I used to be a firm believer in buying, 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 buying. Buy a house, buy this, buy that.
Mhm.
It may not always be. There are a lot of people that are moving and evolving past the thing that if you don't have a home, then what are you doing out here? If you don't have home ownership,
Right.
and I'm not knocking it because I
You
own.
think it's the end all be all. But buying
Right,
versus rent, some people renting is where it's at
right.
because of the type of life that they have.
There are weeks I'm like, oh, bitch, why aren't you in an apartment?
Girl, facts. Now the roof is leaking. Now the ceiling's leaking. Then the dishwasher isn't working. Like home ownership, for some people, and people have elevated it to the end all be all of life. Kind of like with everything else. You get married, you buy a house, you buy a dog, you
Mm-hmm.
get a white picket fence. And if there's anything that strays from that, they look at you like, oh, well, how are you not, kind of like Stepford.
Yeah,
You all should be like boom, boom, boom.
exactly. And
And
that is a
it's, yeah.
yes,
Mm-mm.
that is you hit the nail on the head. That is the key thing. We have become conditioned to things only happening one way. And when we
Yes.
see people deviate from that way, it's like, oh, but
Oh my
their
gosh.
growth is not within the paradigm that you have constructed for yourself. Their
Mm-hmm.
growth is happening outside of that.
Yep. It's
And
all
you have to
relative.
understand that. It's all relative.
It is all
Um,
relative.
I'm glad that we as a people are growing past the idea of just existing
Mm.
and actually seeking therapy and getting help
Amen.
for some of the shit that we have. Because a lot of who we are is based in childhood trauma that a lot of us haven't cleared out.
Yeah.
Um, but just to end this with this, we're talking about growth and we're talking about it as if it's very easy. It is not.
Not
Growth is very
at
uncomfortable.
all.
And it is uncomfortable for some of the reasons that I said guilt, shame, accountability, things that people don't want to dabble in, right? Um, it is a process of change, and change is unsettling for a lot of people. That's why you think they have change management in organizations to help people manage the change that is coming.
Right?
And for some, I've seen it in my own organization. I don't care how much you prepare people for the change. When it comes, there are still people who are going to lose their shit.
Yep. We just changed now. I left in October, September, whatever, and now my branch is no longer there. We have a reorg, and I have a new
See?
boss now, and I'm not back at work yet, and I
That's
have a
what
new
I'm
boss.
saying.
That's
And there
changed.
you go. And you're going to have to adjust to that, right?
Yep.
Now, if you were a fixed mindset person, you would be like doom and gloom.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes.
What the hell am I
Exactly.
going to do? I can't do this. They're probably,
Mm-hmm.
but you aren't a person of a fixed mindset,
Dope. I'm like, oh,
you
well, I
know?
guess that's what we're gonna do, huh? Okay.
Right. But you also understand that there's some going to be some discomfort in whatever is going to happen, but you can get through it.
Right.
Nothing that has discomforted me in change has killed me yet. And therefore I will continue to go through change because I understand that discomfort that I may feel on that moment is just for that moment. Right? It's
Exactly. It's
scary.
temporary.
It's temporary, right? It can be lonely. Sometimes growth is lonely because sometimes you got to do
Extremely.
that shit on your own.
And you got to
And it is
motivate
hard.
yourself and talk. You got
Yes.
to talk to yourself to get up and do whatever it is you need to do,
Right.
and reaffirm that this is what you need to do for yourself.
Exactly. When I decided that there were areas in my life that I had to change and grow from, that shit was hard. It was hard because you become so stuck on who you are that
Mm-hmm.
you don't sometimes you feel like I don't need to change, but that's ego. But then when you start
Yeah.
to see how your behaviors and your and the way you think and operate in certain situations carry a certain vibration that's not healthy, then you realize, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah. I need to course correct a little.
Right. And also understand that accountability, when it comes to growth is uncomfortable because sometimes it forces a lot of people want to look at accountability and say, well, I need that person to be accountable for what they did to me. But what did you
Mm,
do? I had said this a long time ago. It's sometimes the question is not why were you with this toxic person or in this toxic friendship
mm-hmm,
for this amount of time. The real question is why did you let that person in your life to begin with?
mm-hmm.
And once you ask that question and answer that question, then the growth can start to happen.
And these questions can take years to answer. Well, this is
They
not
don't
over the
happen
weekend.
overnight. They don't
Yeah.
happen overnight. Trust me, the
Mm-mm.
Z you see now, that took a lot of work. And this bitch still growing, okay?
We all work in progress.
I tell y'all all the time, please be gentle with me because God is not through with me
Mm,
yet.
amen to that.
um, but let's go ahead and take our last break and then come back with the last sip of the day. And we're back. This is the last sip of tea with your hood Dalai Lama. I am your hood Dalai Lama. We can't become what we need to be by remaining what we are. That is attributed to Miss Oprah Winfrey, who has just recently celebrated a birthday. And I have another one for you all today. Whatever makes you uncomfortable is your biggest opportunity for growth. And that is attributed to Bryant H. McGill. Look, like I said, growth can sometimes be lonely. Comfort can lead to self absorption, boredom, and discontent. Sometimes we need that kick in the ass to really get us in gear, whether it's in your career, in your personal life. We understand that growth is uncomfortable, but trust me, once you get through that discomfort and that uncomfortability, ooh, getting on the other side of that, it's a beautiful thing. And understand that growth is not linear. It's not. It goes up and down, just like grief, just like change, growth is something that will never be linear. You think you're at the mountaintop and something happens and you got to start all the way over again. But never stop. Just never stop. Just keep pushing yourself through it. And I promise you, it's all going to be worth it. And that is the last sip of the tea with your hood Dalai Lama.
Alrighty, alrighty. Thank you for joining us this week on Sippin' Tea with Nat and Z. You can follow us on Instagram at Sippin' Tea underscore Nat and Z underscore pod and on Facebook at Sippin' Tea Nat and Z to get information on upcoming podcasts, topics, guests, and news. And of course, as always, thanks for listening and catch us next episode where we're going to talk about accountability. Have a good week, y'all.